Coming off the highway at exit 15 in Clinton, New Jersey, you will find yourself at the intersection of West Main Street and Pittstown Road. To the right is downtown Clinton, shops, restaurants, and the river running through the middle. Or you can head left towards Pittstown. And if you make that turn, you'll notice an old 3-story building sitting close, very close, to the highway you just came from. The building is clearly old, but the facade looks freshly painted and well cared for. What's missing is the landscaping. Instead of trees and grass, there's dirt and metal fencing. A sign that this place has been under construction probably for a while. This is the Bonnell Tavern, established by Abraham Bonnell in 1767.
Very nice to meet you.
Now, New Jersey has plenty of buildings that old, but this one is different for a few reasons. Starting with, the Bonnell family still owns it.
I'm Henry VIII, I call myself, because I'm the 8th generation owner. My name happens to be Henry.
Henry Bonnell, who goes by Hank, is Abraham's great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson. I got that on the first try. Wow. He's the sole owner of this family legacy, and he's been working painstakingly for the past few years to bring it back to life.
My brother and sister just wanted to tear it down and sell it. My father tried to sell this place for 50 years. Nobody wants to buy this place.
Hank stepped in when his family was ambivalent because, well, there was some important history that happened here. Abraham Bonnell wasn't just a tavern keeper. He, and this building, played a role in the events that led up to the American Revolution in Hunterdon County.
He was a member of the Provincial Congress in 1775, and they assembled the first Minutemen in Hunterdon County in this house. The 2nd Regiment Hunterdon County Militia used this as their headquarters. Generals Maxwell and Sullivan trained the troops in the backyard, I like to say, on the farm.
There are 2 things you need to know about Hank Bonnell. 1, he's an engineer. He spent most of his career doing supply chain logistics for big box stores. And 2, he loves doing Ironman triathlons. So yeah, only someone like Hank would consider restoring a 300-year-old tavern on the cheap, as he likes to say, and actually have the skills to do it completely on his own.
So I spent 6 months on the windows. I rebuilt 200 panes of glass, and then I put the storm windows on. That was 48 panes of glass. And then I painted the outside. Took 6 months to paint the whole building. Then I came inside and did joists to bring it up to the commercial code. And that took 6 months. And then I went into the basement and started digging out the basement. And in the process, the town shut me down.
Welcome to Hometown History, a podcast about the people, places, and events that make a small New Jersey town someplace people call home. And today, we're bringing you a story about what happens when private property and public history collide. Can this one man save a historic building all by himself without losing everything, including the history that comes with it?
So you just walked into the tavern room, and we found pennies at this door right here that are 1738, 1737.
On a cold and windy day in November of 2024, Hank gave my producer Katie and I a tour of the tavern's renovation progress. The first floor is a maze of rooms, some stripped to the studs, some with walls still intact. It's hard to picture how it all once fit together, but Hank knows the history of each and every room intimately.
This was the main gathering area. Living room over here, dining room area over here. This building off to the back here was the kitchen.
In the early 18th century, in rural Hunterdon County, the local tavern was like the neighborhood club. When newspapers first appeared, usually only one copy reached the village, and it was almost always kept at the tavern. Locals debated politics here and talked about the news of the day. The Bonnell family arrived in Hunterdon County by way of Elizabeth, New Jersey, where Abraham's grandfather built the family homestead. 2 generations later, Abraham moved westward. In 1767, he purchased a tavern outside of Hunts Mills, later known as Clinton. Before long, it became a gathering place for something bigger than local gossip. Between these walls, town residents debated the looming prospect of independence.
They wrote in their pension applications, I often came across Colonel Bunnell, General Washington, General Maxwell. In the same sentence. I have 4 or 5 that have said that. I was blown away when I read that.
To understand how Abraham Bonnell was 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon away from famous figures like Charles Stewart and George Washington, we have to take you back to the summer of 75. That's 1775. Following the events of Lexington and Concord, New Jersey colonists were ready to get their hands dirty. They had pushed out their royal governor and British overseer, sent him packing, and then established a provisional Congress. Representatives from all New Jersey's then 13 counties met in the city of Trenton to discuss the urgent matter of independence. And among the delegates representing Hunterdon County at that Congress were Lieutenant Colonel Charles Stewart and Abraham Bonnell. On a return trip home from Trenton in the fall of 1775, Stewart called a meeting of the local residents together at Bonnell's Tavern. He had a message to deliver. War was coming, and New Jersey needed a strong fighting force to send to Washington's aid. Among the group assembled at the tavern that day, the Patriots murmured their agreement. The Loyalists of the area stayed silent. By 1776, Charles Stewart had become a colonel, and command of the regiment passed to Lieutenant Colonel Abraham Bonnell. And the tavern? It became the official headquarters of the 2nd Regiment. Hank has reason to believe that soldiers were even trained on the property.
I have things that I found on site. Musket balls, there's a musket ball in there. And you ready for this? This is the coolest one. A British soldier's button. Isn't that cool?
Just outside what would have been the tavern's back kitchen, Hank found evidence of a mess hall and an encampment.
I'm trying to save this old house. That's important to our culture. It's important to our heritage. It's important to Clinton. It's important to New Jersey. It's important to the nation. It really is.
After the war, the town of Clinton began developing about a quarter-mile away along the Raritan River. Bonnell's Tavern wasn't right in town, but it sat at a Y in the road, which made it the perfect stopping place for travelers. After the war, the Bonnell family ran it as a hotel until about 1890.
Then my great-great-grandfather probably shut the hotel down and just lived in it as his house and a farm. And my grandfather did the same. And then in 1957, they built this highway.
We've talked before about New Jersey's highway boom, and specifically how New Jersey built I-78, connecting rural parts of Hunterdon County to big cities further east. It brought economic growth to Clinton. But the state used eminent domain to take land from local property owners to build it. The 60-acre Bonnell Farm was purchased by the government for a very small sum, leaving only the building and 1.8 acres of land. Standing inside the tavern today, the sound of traffic nearly drowns out our conversation. The highway runs right past the second-floor windows, 40 feet from the front door.
And my grandfather was like a deer in headlights. What do? I got this big old house that's dripping with history. I got furniture all over the place. And they built this highway that makes my floor shake.
So Hank's grandfather put the former tavern up for sale in the 1960s and auctioned off everything he owned. Almost everything that was part of the tavern's early revolutionary history walked out the door. The property then became a legacy that Hank's father had to deal with, and it sat vacant for a while. Hank grew up close by, in Holland Township, dreaming of what he could do with the old house when it became his.
My whole life I've been saying, we got to do something with this, Dad. We can't let it rot.
Hank's father passed away in 2018, and by November of 2019, the family tavern was finally his. Then came COVID. But it was actually the perfect setup for Hank.
Everybody else was wearing masks. I was in here having a great time.
The pandemic made it all but necessary for Hank to work on the tavern alone. But even without COVID-era social distancing, it's what Hank wanted anyways. He sees this house as his baby, something that his other family members thought of as a burden. His first priority was to rescue the building from the elements. That meant windows, a new roof, and exterior upgrades. The question then became, what do you do with it?
You build a restaurant because it's perfect for a restaurant, but you can't get a liquor license. So, how about a brewery? It's easier to get a brewer's license and serve what you make.
Hank's plan is to continue the legacy of his ancestor, Abraham Bonnell. He wants to turn it into a microbrewery, the 21st century version of a tavern, you might say, with a small museum upstairs.
So this is going to be my beer hall until the rest of the story gets built out, which is Sam Bonnell. He built a big house on the hill and a barn. And that was in the 1860s, I guess, roughly. The barn was torn down in the 1990s, but it was saved. I would like to re-erect it out here as part of my brewery. The big, beautiful barn with the old barn beam. If I produce 500 to 1,000 barrels a year, which is what the other brewers around here are doing, I think I can make it go.
That's a lot of beer Hank has to sell to make his work on the house profitable, but he's hoping he can bring people out from New York City. Coincidentally, and conveniently for Hank, the interstate highway has made local tourism in Clinton more popular in recent years.
Quick trip to the basement.
For 2 years, Hank made steady progress on the tavern. Sometimes college buddies would come to help out. Subcontractors were brought in only when absolutely necessary. But for the most part, Hank tackled everything on his own.
So this is when they shut me down.
What finally slowed him down wasn't the physical work, it was permits.
2 years ago, the town shut me down because I don't have a zoning permit that they require. And I've been going through hell for 2.5 years.
So you haven't been able to do work on this place at all?
That's correct.
For 2.5 years?
2.5 years.
Complicating his permit problems was the fact that Hank's legacy stretched across 2 different towns. This building is in Union Township,
That's
and
correct.
that parking lot, which is 200 feet away,
That road is called Union Road. That became the dividing line between Union Township and Clinton. And then they built this highway, which cut us off from the rest of Union. So if you look at the map, there's one little triangle here. That's Union Township. That's me.
So instead of dealing with one planning board, Hank has to deal with 2. Hank points to a sack of copy paper as thick as War and Peace sitting on the desk in front of him.
You see this paperwork here? Take a guess how much I've spent on this. $350,000, and I'm still not through.
It may seem like Hank's decision to go it alone, rebuilding the tavern, is a little unnecessary. But Hank's diligent number crunching tells him it's the only way that makes financial sense. But since the town shut him down, Hank's had to earmark more funds for permits and professionals than he had planned to.
What's killing me is I'm now going to have to go borrow money to do this. Like to the tune of $1.5 million.
You might assume that there's grant money available for Hank to use to restore the tavern. Or maybe he partners with a group that would help him get past the bureaucratic red tape. But Hank appears dead set against any public investment in this enterprise.
I'm still bitter from the highway. My grandfather took that to court and lost. And they're not here to help me, but they're in the bureaucracy, to be fair to them. They have to do what they have to do.
Getting the public sector involved might save Hank some trouble, but it would almost certainly slow things down. And while he is an Ironman triathlete, he feels like maybe he's getting to the end of the race.
I'm 64 years old. I don't have, at some point I'm going to croak, I'm this close to packing it in. So your interest in this and others like you are the only thing that's keeping me going right now.
There's a lot of melancholy in your telling of the story of your work on this place.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
But the process is so burdensome that it's become impossible. And I'm at the end of my rope with the town, with the state, with the DEP, with everybody. I'm done.
Even hearing all that, it's hard to imagine Hank giving up. Because when he talks about this place, you can hear what it means to him.
I want to turn that highway into an opportunity. It's a liability now. I'm turning it into an opportunity.
Inside the tavern, Hank has already started setting aside artifacts and documents to tell the story of the building and the militia that once gathered there. Someday, visitors might see those things in a small museum upstairs, if the brewery opens.
It's going to be a fun 10 years. Let's put it that way. I'm trying to figure out how to do this without losing my shirt.
When we reached out to Hank for an update on the tavern in January 2026, he had some good news to share. The permits he was waiting for came through, but now he's got more permits he's waiting on. He's also a little bit more open to working with professionals these days. He's got an HVAC guy, a plumber, and an electrician. But the most exciting update, Hank found the original muster rolls for 102nd Regiment Minutemen. It's a slow progression forward, even if the circumstances feel the same. More permits to get, more work to be done. But more history has been uncovered. This episode was written and produced by Ryan Ross and Katie Feather. It was mixed and edited by Katie Feather. Our theme music is La Danse Timide by Howard Harper Barnes. Special thanks to Hank Bonnell. Find us on our website, hometownhistory.substack.com and hometownhistorynj.com. We are on Instagram at hometownhistorynj. Thanks for listening.